The U.S. is pulling out in 2014 from Afghanistan, and our investigation found out, based on an Inspector General's report released in March, that their military is just not ready. It's marginally ready, according to the Inspector General's report. Their command and control, although it could reverse itself. But the report is only touching the surface. What the Washington Guardian found out is that it's much worse than the report states. The Army is facing a number of problems beyond just logistics and its command and control. That is the relationship between its commanders and its officers and the commanders and GIROA, which is the Afghan government. What we've noted from U.S. military officials is that, Afghan military personnel are still quite illiterate. The nation is at least like 12% or less literacy rate. It's very difficult to communicate with them. Another major problem is the government itself in Afghanistan. The corruption is so extensive that it has seeped into the Afghan military, and it's made the regular Afghan military personnel distrustful of their commanders and of their officers. In fact, I remember speaking to Afghan military personnel in 2011 when I was there in eastern Afghanistan. And what they would say to me is, oh, as soon as the United States leave, as soon as the West is out of Afghanistan, we're going to walk away from the military. And I said, well, why? They said, because do you really believe we're going to be getting our paychecks? We barely get them now. We have to fight for our checks. So this is something that I think, we should be very concerned about. Afghanistan, prior to September 11th, was a breeding ground for Al-Qaeda, a training camp, and it was a recruitment center. And according to officials that I'm talking to now, not just in the United States, but in Pakistan, as well as Afghanistan, once we pull out in 2014, if we don't abide by what we've promised them, which is to keep a constant vigil there after 2014 through 2024, if we have too few people aiding the Afghans, what we could see is Afghanistan crumble upon itself into what it was before, or even worse. And it could once again become a training ground for extremist groups. And even my discussions with Pakistani officials, they have shown that there is an enormous amount of concern that if Afghanistan falls into disarray, particularly a civil war, that what they're going to see is a flood of Afghans, hundreds of thousands of Afghans back across their border like they saw when the Soviets left Afghanistan. And this potentially will cause an enormous problem in Pakistan, which is a nuclear nation and is already facing its own political turmoil. The Washington Guardian is going to continue to look at these issues. We're going to continue to investigate. This obviously affects the national security of the United States, and this is something that every American should pay attention to, because even though it's thousands of miles away, it's only one flight away for one terrorist.